Yes, we'll start off taking a look at the processes, the preparations for the elections. Already, those headlines about the Council of State meeting will just preoccupy a lot of editors, the news mindset. But we're joined this morning by Mr. Timothy Adebowale, who is the Deputy National Coordinator, Save Our Democracy Coalition. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Chamberlain, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, already we have people talking about collection of the permanent voter cards. To them, that is the first step, because if they don't have that, they can't even make any change whatsoever. And that speaks to the process, the build-up to these elections. What's your impression of what you've seen so far?
You know, away from the core game of politics, of canvassing for votes, there are still things about the elections that are extremely important. You've just mentioned one of them. Now, definitely, there will be no elections if there is nobody voting. If all we have is somebody to be voted for and there is nobody voting. Now, again, the election's credibility will be affected if the number of people eligible to vote, if quite a percentage of them do not get to vote. Now, how do Nigerians get to vote? There is only one instrument that allows you to vote, and that's your permanent voter's card. So you must have that. Now, you know, at the beginning, everybody was a little bit skeptical. The reports all over the media is permanent voters card was not getting around as it should get. Now, but let's be sincere. In recent time, there has been an uptake. There has been some speed to that process. Now, what we see is that permanent voters card, because Nigeria belongs to Nigerians. And what will make this election credible, what will make this election solid, is for Nigerians to go to the polls all over the country, in every segment or in every nook and cranny of this country, and then be able to vote for whoever they want to vote for. Now, so we commend INEC for what they are doing, but the truth is that this last shift, you know, the deadline came and then there was a week shift. It's a very credible thing. INEC must do everything within its power to give power to Nigerians, because it is the PVC that gives the power to Nigerians. Then Nigerians can now use the power of the PVC, the power to vote, to elect whosoever they want. Now, we still have a few cases that is being reported that PVC has not gotten. Now, I do not see, I've collected my PVC. I do not see this as rocket science. Collecting of PVC is a very simple thing. I know there are logistic challenges to it, but I know that INEC is up to the task from what is being done. So what we need to do is to still encourage that PVCs should go to every nook and cranny. And I know at the end of the day, you cannot score 100%. But if we do 95, Chamberlain, I think we're good.
Can we do 95?
Honestly, I believe we can do 95. We've started from 1999. We've learned a lot. We've learned a lot. And I guess one thing maybe we're going to talk about is this, materials for election. You can see that we are beginning to overcome our logistic challenges. We are beginning to overcome the things that slows down the distribution. I also know that there are some human factors to it. I've also had reports of some people, some politicians, you know, trying to dabble into the process and hindering the speed of the process. They know why they are doing that. But the truth of the matter is that also INEC is getting wiser. You know, when you have a negative experience, you go back to the drawing table. How do I overcome this? So I actually have faith that we can do 95%. And honestly, I don't even think we can, we must, because the stakes are very, very high.
Are you taking into cognizance the percentage of those who may have moved location, cannot get their cards, those who will decide, well, I'm working, I can't go and get those, because even if they declare permanent, even if they declare public holidays, they still may not be able to come out and get it. And those who outrightly just lose interest are undecided.
The only ones I cannot speak to are those who lose interest. And perhaps they are not living on planet Nigeria. Planet Nigeria today, those who have lost interest, where I live in Abuja, those who are lost, those who I know to be very apolitical, in the last few weeks have become politicians. Everybody has suddenly become interested. There is something about this election, honestly, that is charging everybody up. Everybody is gearing to go. Now, that is what I feel, and I've been sitting down with a gentleman in one of your receptions now. The little discussion we had there, we are both charged up. So I think in Planet Nigeria today, I don't know how you will lose interest in this election, but of course it's your right to lose interest if you choose to, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong about that, but what I see on the street, Chamberlain, everybody is raring to go, and everybody will go collect their PVCs. That's what I see.
We already have an extension which terminates on February 8. What is that thing that you would love to see from INEC? Now, we're not looking at the government because some are already contemplating seeing if they can have a work-free day, while some are thinking of having maybe, well, a half work-free day for the people. What should INEC do to, you know, cover that kind of mileage you talked about, to the extent that we can get to that significant amount of, let's say, did you say 95%?
95%.
What can they do?
Well, what they can do, in my opinion, is very simple. What has worked in the locations that PVCs have been distributed successfully, I think INEC should take that and replicate it in other locations where the rate of collection is not that high. That's number one. Number two, I think INEC should also at this time be very media friendly. I have this little information that in certain locations, human factors, politician factors are hindering them. And I think if that is true, I don't work in INEC, and I'm not holding brief for them. If that is true, INEC should come out and say to, call a press conference and say to Nigerians, well, in this location, I'm having this problem. You know, we own this country. Politicians don't own this country. If Nigerians know that INEC is having this problem, I think people power may turn around that problem in that location. So INEC should replicate what has been working, but INEC should also say whatever is their problems, let Nigerians help them in resolving it.
Sorry, Mark, I needed to have a follow-up on this. I'm asking this on the backdrop of, if you have a deadline to meet, and ordinarily you leave work 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. In times like this, don't you think INEC also needs an extension? Because yesterday we went around 5 o'clock in some places, and in most other places before 5 o'clock, they said they were already done for the day. How can we catch up if we leave before that time?
It is very clear on that issue. It's very clear. I think that, honestly speaking, we've even seen it at times on election day, where the stipulated time for the election was extended. And the reasons were obvious, why we are at this moment, because this civic responsibility speaks to the very heart of our democracy. Now, to save our democracy, if we need to shift the time, INEC must shift the time. I think it is part of INEC's responsibility to do everything. Honestly speaking, save for the security of INEC staff, I will even have suggested that they should stay there 24/7. And if they have enough manpower to do it, even do it on shift. There is no doubt about it that if staying longer for people in the working class to be able to come to collect their PVCs is what will make them get it, INEC should go, because INEC must not allow itself to become guilty, truly or falsely, of being one of those that will truncate anything that will make this election free, fair, and credible. I want to commend INEC. I'm not one of those that say INEC has been doing a shoddy job. I just think INEC needs to up its game, and if part of the upping the game is to extend the time, we encourage INEC, go ahead and do that.
When you say politician factor, what precisely do you mean?
Well, since I don't have this authority and I don't have facts and figure about it, I'll just say the way I got it. I'm told that in certain areas there are attempts to prevent some people by violence, because it is felt that in this locality, these people are supporting this particular party, and then there is this, threats being spread as to certain segments of that society. I was somewhere in Abuja, and I was hearing this about a particular part of the country where I am from, and I was not happy with it. But we are on air now. I don't have this on good authority. But I say to INEC, because I know INEC is listening now, if this is true, they should come out and say to Nigerians, and say, look, this is what we are having here. And Nigerians, I'm sure, will rise up in that locality and they will collect their PVCs. Nobody will stop them from
Because in some other cases, we've seen politicians liaise with the resident electoral commissioners to ensure that their jobs are a lot smoother. So you don't want people to, the alarm bells to start ringing when they see, say for instance, a wreck with, with a politician. That notwithstanding, how would you say, if you've been monitoring the process, what would you say you've noticed in the places that you've seen or the places that you've monitored?
Yeah, in my own area, honestly, where I live, it was smooth. And my organization, in the places we cover, truly we are not covering the entire country, but up north and a little bit to the south, and southwest, the processes in a number of places have been smooth. People have gone, but of course, it is the turnout that has been an issue. It is the turnout
What's
that has
the turnout been like?
In certain places, truly, the turnout has not been good. There is clearly this factor, which I think has been mentioned here today, that people, because of work and some other commitments, have not been able to come out earlier. And by the time, of course, they are ready to go, it's closed. So there is nobody to collect your PVC.
Well, you monitored this. If this is what your organization monitored, you definitely then have it on good authority. So you can tell us about these areas. Which areas specifically?
All right. I can tell you that we were strongly on ground in the FCT. We were strongly on ground in Katsina. We were strongly on ground in Kogi. We were strongly on ground in Oyo State. We were strongly on ground in Port Harcourt and its environment. Not the entire state. Now, in these areas, that's our manpower for now. In these areas, interestingly, it's not the same pattern everywhere we've gone. There have been places where we have actually seen people come out en masse and do this, but there have been places where we have seen the officials, staying, and there was nobody to collect PVCs from them. And then in trying to do a little investigation as to what, nothing seems to be hindering them except the factor that perhaps they have other commitments for now that has not allowed them to come. And that's why the suggestion we've made here, that they should be allowed to do that after the stipulated official hours for collecting this. But this has been the diverse picture that we have seen. We have not yet seen a picture of any underhanded thing happening to cause them not to collect the PVC.